If you don't learn to change the conversation, you're never going to learn to change your circumstances. That's the bottom line. Welcome to the kickoff version of Conversations with My Inner Critic, aka self-talk sessions, aka interviews with the inner voice. I know that's a lot of AKAs, but I just couldn't pick one, so I'll use them all. Guys, I have a passion for teaching self-talk skills. Intrapersonal communication is not only my passion, but I've discovered after 20 years of ministry, over 20 years of personal development, studies and education, over 17 years in corporate America, I've taken all of these experiences and information and education, and the one thing that I've discovered, the one thing that I've come to truly understand is that our ability to effectively communicate with ourselves dramatically impacts our ability to effectively communicate with other people. And that communication in the context of relationships with others, that is the game changer of life. Anything that you want to accomplish, anything that you want to achieve, anything that you want to attain in this world is going to come in and through and by a relationship. So unless you get really good at communicating with yourself, you're never going to get really good at communicating with others. And if you don't get good at communicating with others, you're not going to get very far in this world. And so I like to say, unless you get real good at controlling the conversation, the one going on in here, then you're never going to get real good at controlling the circumstances out here. Now, let me give you a little bit of a background as to how I got to this place, what this weekly audio visual newsletter is really all about. It came from, and it was sparked really in my heart this morning when I was working out. I'm actually recording this the very same day that the idea came to mind. I wanted to jump on it because it resonated with me, and it makes sense that I would begin this newsletter and begin to communicate these ideas and this information to those that might be in need of. And so I act quick, okay? I know when a thing fits, and so I'm just taking action on it. So this morning, as I was working out, like I normally do, I'm listening to some sort of motivational speaking or a teaching, a podcast. I'm putting in my ears, as I'm physically training, I'm putting in my ears, getting in my mind, down in my heart, good quality information. Information that's going to aid me, support me, benefit me, encourage me, inspire me, that's going to give me some fuel for my future, so to speak. I want to really bombard my mind early in the morning before I get around other people, before I intake other information, before I have a lot of dialogue with other people. I want to just bombard my mind with good quality, beneficial information. And so as I was working out this morning, Tony Robbins said something in a video that I was watching that was really profound. He was talking about the fact that if we don't condition ourselves, then someone's going to condition us. If we don't control ourselves, then someone else is going to control us. And it really got me thinking. As I was training, I was living what he was saying in my own little context. Because for years, when I physically train, instead of listening to music, I listened to educational content, things that are going to spark ideas, things that are going to elicit certain emotions within me, things that are going to educate me and feed me so that I become a greater and greater person, right? Just improving me as a person, right? Because I desire to be a high quality person. So I just take in high quality information. And so in my own way, I had been training and conditioning my mind to think a certain way, thus conditioning my speech, right, to be a certain way, thus training my inner dialogue, right, that inner conversation, right, dealing with that inner critic. In my own way, unknowingly, I was already practicing what Tony Robbins was talking about. I had taken control over my conditioning. And so it dawned on me that, many people in my life, they struggle with that inner voice. They struggle with that inner critic. They talk themselves out of situations instead of into situations. Many of us talk ourselves out of things that would change our lives and transform our circumstances because we've not been made aware that we're having this dialogue, and we certainly haven't been made aware of its impact. So that's really what I want to do with this weekly vlog, this weekly newsletter, whatever we choose to call it, okay? But this weekly communication, I want to first bring awareness to self-talk. I want to bring awareness to intrapersonal conversations, communications, and skills, okay? Because, I've been looking around a lot, and I've noticed we talk a lot about all the other forms of communication, but there's not a lot of content, there's not a lot of energy, there's not a lot of communication around intra-communication. And yet the talk that's going on within us is controlling and dominating and determining everything else. It's really odd to me that the thing that is, influencing us most, we're talking about the least. It's like we're not giving a lot of energy and focus and time to really unpack this thing called self-talk. I mean, we all kind of know it, we all kind of acknowledge it, but we don't really unpack it, and we don't really train it and teach it within our homes, within corporations, within churches, at least not what I've seen. So here I am to be the change that I want to see in the culture, a change in the level of awareness, the change in the level of appreciation for, and a change in the level of application concerning self-talk, intrapersonal communication. Now, a little bit about me, a little bit of my backstory. For years, now that I look back on it, right? For years, I had poor self-talk or self-communication. I was very, very critical of myself. I defeated myself a lot. In fact, for years. I was never good enough for me. And so what I did was I compensated not feeling good about me, not accepting me, not believing that I, in and of myself, was good enough for anyone or for anything. That self-talk, that was the dialogue, that was the chatter. So because of that, what I did within whatever space I found myself, I did it in church, I did it in corporate America, I did it in my family, with my wife, with my kids, you name it, I did it. I overcompensated with my effort. I would do things above and beyond what anybody asked or required of me. And yes, it had some payoff, right? On my job, I got some promotions. In my family, I guess I got a good reputation. In the church, I was a trusted voice, and I was the go-to person, right? In our society, I mean, when you work hard and you're diligent and you're consistent and you're trustworthy and you're dependable, you just get a good reputation. So I guess in that sense, it benefited me, right? It definitely helped me move forward. But the problem was the inside. On the inside, I was never fulfilled. On the inside, I was never happy. On the inside, I was never really satisfied, and I was never really at peace. Because I did not accept me, I worked that much harder to say, hey, I don't accept me, and I don't think you're going to accept me. So here's what I'll do. I will work extra hard to please you. I became a people pleaser. Let me make you happy. Let me meet all your needs. Let me serve and overserve you so that you'll like me, so that you'll want me around, so that you'll accept me. And that's what happened. People loved me for, now that I look back at it, They were loving me because of who I was. They were loving me because they just loved me, but I didn't know that. And I was so blinded by my own criticism. I was so blinded by my own poor self-talk that I never could see how significant I was in other people's lives, because I was so busy trying to work a little harder to prove my worth or to prove my place in people's lives. And I don't know if you find yourself there or if you've ever found yourself there. Now, where that all came from, I don't know. I could speculate. Maybe it came from the fact that, and while I have a great relationship with my father today, the truth is I didn't grow up with my father. The circumstances were such that we moved from Chicago, where I was born, to Ohio. And the relationship with my father was greatly hindered, and I didn't grow up with a father in the home. And so maybe somewhere down in my heart, I felt like, well, he doesn't accept me, or he's not working hard enough toward keeping this connection with me. So maybe I'm not worth it. Maybe I'm not special. Maybe I'm not loved. I don't know. Again, that was the past. Today I have a great relationship with my father, and I praise God for that. Or maybe it was my mother, right? She, for as long as I could remember, addicted to drugs, alcohol. And for many years, I could even remember back, maybe even saying this to her, but I definitely felt it. You know, Mom, why don't you stop the drugs and the alcohol and be in my life? Like, love me and accept me so much that you should get over your habit and get over your addictions. And she didn't. It wasn't until much, much later in life, before she passed away, that she began to deal with those demons. But maybe, perhaps, you know, I internalized the fact that she chose, or at least it appeared that she chose, drugs and alcohol over caring for me. I don't know, right? There's a whole bunch of other things that I could share about my past. I've been through a lot. I've gone through a whole lot. Always bullied, always picked on, rejected growing up in school. I was the fat kid. I was the stutterer. You know, they picked on me. They gave me, you know, silly little dumb names and just ridiculed me, right? All through elementary and through junior high. I was picked on and bullied and made to feel less than. So maybe all of my early years, those formative years, they laid a foundation for me to not love and to not accept myself. But the bottom line is, wherever it was seeded in my life, whatever it came from, as an adult, here I am, or at least here I was 20 years ago, working for my worth instead of working from my worth, as I like to teach people today. But the fact is that all of this was the inner dialogue, the inner chatter, the inner critic, right? And so that's why I named this, let's have a conversation with the critic in me, right? Let's have some self-talk sessions, right? Just like you would go into therapy, right? I envision this as a weekly session, self-talk sessions. I just came from the gym, and most of these will be recorded right after the gym because this is top of mind, and you know, I'll be in the spirit, right? And so I like to leverage like being in the moment. So most of these videos, you might see me in my gym gear, and that's on purpose, okay? And that's why I say it's an interview with the inner voice. We all have an inner voice. We all have chatter. We all have something going on within us. And a lot of us are not aware of it. We're certainly not aware of how to navigate it. And then secondly, the application part. We really don't know how to do the thing the right way, how to have constructive conversations versus criticizing or critical conversations with ourselves. So in this video, I want to share, I wrote a couple of things down today. Now that I've kind of laid the foundation for what this newsletter will be and kind of what my purposes are and kind of what I want to accomplish, I want to share with you. I want to add some value, okay? I want to share with you, and I wrote these things down just so that I wouldn't forget as I'm recording. 3 things that I do to help my inner critic, right? to help my inner voice to improve itself, right? I want you to put it into that context. Just like another person, right? You might want to give advice to your friend. You might want to counsel your friend, right? Because you want the best for your friend. Well, we all have an inner voice. We all have an inner critic. So I want you to put it in that context and pretend like you're helping your critic. You're helping your voice to improve, okay? So these are 3 ways that you can help your inner critic not be so critical, all right? Check it out. Number 1, I want to refer to the book of Proverbs, okay? Proverbs 24. This verse talks about, or this chapter talks about, and it's in the context of a war. It says that it is through many advisors that a person wins the war, is successful in battle. Through many advisors. This tells me, and this reminds me, right, to my first point, to not be my own sounding board. It's my wife's favorite term. Don't be your own sounding board. Why? Because you have blinders, okay? And you cannot see you the way you think you can see you. Because you're the one in it. You're in the circumstances. You're in the situations. You're in the mess. And you cannot really see you the way someone else can see you. That's why we go to counseling. We go and we have therapy sessions. We sit on the couch, right? On the couch, and we let them see us. We explain ourselves. We share ourselves because they can see through a different lens that we're not able to see from. And so the first thing is I acknowledge that I'm not going to allow myself to be my own sounding board. I've committed to this. I'm not going to drag myself down. I'm not going to allow my conditioning, my training, right? Like Tony Robbins was talking about, if you don't train you, someone else will. If you don't condition you, someone else will. If you don't take control and you don't begin to really own what's going on in your mind, what's going on in your heart, then someone else will advise that information. Someone else will advise what you should be thinking and what you should be feeling. So my first piece of advice to you is make the commitment to not be your own sounding board. Now, once you've done that, here's 3 advisors that I personally use that you might want to consider. Number 1, I refer to the Bible. The Bible represents me praying, talking to God. It's basically me saying I acknowledge that my life is the evidence that I've been created by something greater than me. I have a purpose. I'm here by the will of something greater than me. Just like everything else in this world has a purpose, I too have a purpose. And so the best way for me to know what that purpose is, for me to leverage that information, for me to operate and to move and to live and to exist in that space, is for me to be advised by my Creator. Now, this is not a religious newsletter. I'm not here to tell you who God is. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. You do you. I read the Bible. I look to God, and I allow God to be my first advisor. God, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know who I am. I don't know why I'm here, but you do. And so I consult with the Bible. That gives me new, profitable, beneficial information for my critic to work with. Number 2, mentors. I believe that every man needs a mentor. Every person probably needs a mentor, okay? But these are trusted voices. These are men and women who I've developed relationships with over the years. They've proven themselves to be trustworthy, to be accurate, to be people of integrity and character. And so I trust these people. I meet with these people on a bi-weekly basis, some a monthly basis. And so I just allow them to speak into my life. I share with them some intimate things. I share with them things that I'm processing, things that I'm considering. And then they give me their advice for me to process and to consider. Even with my mentors, I don't just take exactly what they say and just run with it. It's for the purpose of processing and looking at it through different lenses, giving you different perspectives, giving you more insight to what you're dealing with, okay? So I look to my mentors. That's number 2. And then lastly, I look to observations. Just like I'm sitting in this park. Let me give you a real-time example of what I mean by observations. I love to just come outside and just observe life. Now you can't see it in the camera's view, but over here there's some mountains. Over here there's some hills. There's some grass all around me. Maybe there's some trees in the background. I just look at how life succeeds. I just look at the success of life. How does life work? How does life flow? For example, right now we're coming out of winter. I think this is spring right now, right? Okay, well, seasons change. Spring, winter, fall, summer. That tells me that things won't always be the same. That tells me that things will change. It tells me that life is a cycle. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's hot. Sometimes it's rainy, sometimes it's sunny. That encourages me that my life then goes in cycles. I won't always be up, but I won't always be down. And that inner critic can say to you, no, you're gonna always be in this place. You're gonna always be stuck. You're gonna always be here. You're gonna always make the same amount of money that you make now. You're gonna be in the same situation that you've always been in. And I can say to my inner critic, no, life has cycles. Nuh-uh. I'm not gonna stay here. That's just one example. Another one, I'm looking at the grass and the trees. You know, the trees, they have leaves for a season and then the leaves fall off, but then the leaves come back. The grass, it may be cut and then it grows again. This tells me that God set up life in such a way that life reproduces life, right? So if I'm giving my mind good quality information, then it tells me that just like you sow a natural physical seed into the ground, the dirt of the earth, I can take a spiritual seed, a piece of information seed, an idea seed, sow it into the ground of my mind and my heart, right? Because the mind and the heart proves that from the heart and from the mind, we have ideas sparking all around us every day, right? You ever been sitting somewhere and you just get like this brilliant idea? Well, where did that come from? It came from the soil of your soul, your mind, and your heart. So if I feed my mind and my heart good information, like I do at the gym, then it tells me that I'm going to reproduce that which I sow. If I sow it, I grow it. It's really that simple. I mean, that's life, not only in the physical state, but that's life in the spiritual, the mental, and the psychological. If you sow it, you're gonna grow it. If you don't sow it, you're not gonna grow it. So I sow it. These are just a few examples of just observations. I mean, you can do this all day long. You can use anything in life and just sit back and observe how life has this beautiful rhythm to it. And you can sit back and say, that's applicable to me. It will inspire you, it will encourage you, and it will give your critic some new information to work with. Guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up there. I think I've said enough. I think this video has gone long enough. Today, I just wanted to lay a foundation as the kickoff episode, give you a little flavor as to who I am, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. I didn't even introduce myself when I first started this. If you've never heard me before, you've never seen me before, my name is Travell C.W. Lynch. They call me Mr. What? That's my intro to my other videos and things such as that's my podcast and stuff like that. But Travell C.W. Lynch, aka Mr. What, aka iAMthepossible. You are the possible. That's who I is, that's who I am, and I'm sticking to it. But all in all, guys, I just wanted to lay a foundation of what this is all about. Why I'm so passionate about it is because I have discovered, man, nothing impacts our lives, nothing influences our lives more than the dialogue that's going on between these two ears. And if you can master that, not perfection, just master the process of awareness and application, right? If you can master awareness and application to the inner dialogue, the inner conversation, the inner communication, the inner critic, the inner voice, if you can engage with yourself in a positive and in a productive way, you're going to win. You're going to win. You're going to create greater and higher quality relationships, right? I attract, this is just my own personal testimony, who I used to be in the past, you would not want to meet. Maybe I'll save that for another episode. But my past, as a young man coming up, you did not want to meet me in the streets, okay? But who I've become, right, is what is a product of committing to becoming a quality person. And because I've committed to becoming a quality person, then I attract what I am. I attract quality people. Okay? And so again, if you learn how to master the awareness and the application of self-talk, intrapersonal skills, intrapersonal communication, if you can master that space in your life, then you're going to become a high quality person. You're going to attract high quality relationships, and in and through those relationships, sky's the limit, man. Your life is going to change. Change the conversation in here and in here, and change your circumstances out here. That's how it works. I love you guys. I'm praying for you guys. I'm believing in you guys. Guys, do me one favor. Down below somewhere, I want you to subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell. Leave a comment. Hook me up, okay? Let's talk. Let's dialogue. What was of value? What hit home? Where were your aha moments? Where did it make sense? What questions do you have? Drop me a comment below, or click one of the links below and get in contact with me directly. Whatever you choose. But I want to hear from you. I don't want this to be a one-way conversation. I don't want this to be a monologue. I want this to be a dialogue. I want us to talk and to engage with one another. So comments, emails, questions, whatever, I welcome it all. But go ahead and subscribe to this channel, and make sure that you tell someone about this channel if you know that they would benefit from this information. All right, that's it. Until next time, guys. Find a way today to go out and be why it's possible.